Our passage for this devotional will come from the book of Mark in the 11th chapter with an emphasis on verses 20 to 25. It is very important to understand the events that took place prior to our text. At the beginning of this chapter is recorded as the triumphal entry. This is the time that Jesus rode into Jerusalem on a colt. The crowd spread their garments and palms on the road ahead of Jesus, and the people shouted, "Hosanna! Blessed is he who comes in the name of the Lord." This is known to us as Palm Sunday, the beginning of Holy Week. After entering Jerusalem, Jesus and the 12 disciples went out to Bethany. Verse 12 begins with Jesus leaving Bethany the next day, and he was hungry. And seeing in the distance a fig tree with leaves on it, he went to enjoy some figs, only to find there were none on the tree, because it was not the season yet for figs. Jesus then said to the tree, "May no one ever eat fruit from you again." And the disciples heard him say it. Now in Mark 11:15 to 17, it reads as this: On reaching Jerusalem, Jesus entered the temple courts and began driving out those who were buying and selling there. He overturned the tables and the money changers and the benches of those selling doves, and he would not allow anyone to carry merchandise through the temple courts. And as he taught them, he said, "Is it not written, 'My house will be called a house of prayer for all nations,' but you have made it a den of robbers." Now the chief priests and the teachers of the law heard this and began looking for a way to kill him, for they feared him, because the whole crowd was amazed at his teaching. This one moment of cleansing did not change what was going on in the temple, but it was an act of righteous judgment. This brings us to the key passage for the devotional. Mark 11:20 to 26. The next morning, as they passed by the fig tree he had cursed, the disciples noticed it had withered from the roots up. Peter remembered what Jesus had said to the tree on the previous day and exclaimed, "Look, Rabbi, the fig tree you cursed has withered and died." Then Jesus said to the disciples, "Have faith in God. I tell you the truth, you can say to this mountain, 'May you be lifted up and thrown into the sea,' and it will happen. But you must really believe it, and it will happen. Have no doubt in your heart. I tell you, you can pray for anything, and if you believe that you've received it, it will be yours. But when you are praying, first forgive anyone who you are holding a grudge against, so that your Father in heaven will forgive your sins too." By causing the tree to wither, Jesus provides an object lesson on the need to have faith in God. He states all the things you pray for, have faith, and you have received them, and you will have them. What an important lesson for all of Jesus' followers. For the nation of Israel, the presence of a fruitful fig tree was considered to be a symbol of blessing and prosperity. Fruitfulness is often used as a metaphor for spiritual growth in the Bible. During certain periods of its history, the nation of Israel was fruitful, glorifying God and being obedient. At other times, Israel was not fruitful, worshiping other gods, neglecting the Lord, and indulging in sin. During these non-fruitful times, they would cry out to God again for redemption, and the Lord would forgive and restore. Ultimately, Jesus' sacrifice changed God's relationship to man, and God's Spirit indwelled with people rather than the Holy of Holies. When the temple was no longer fruitful, Jesus ended its purpose. When something loses its purpose, it slowly decays and becomes worthless. The fig tree withered and died in an accelerated manner, demonstrating what happens to people or institutions who do not pursue fruitfulness. The temple was being used as a money exchange and no longer fruitful for the spiritual lives of people. People who live their lives for themselves or worldly gain rather than living for God and experiencing spiritual growth wither and die spiritually. The withered tree is a lesson about what happens when we are disconnected from Christ, who is our true purpose and source of life. All outward signs of life drying up in our lives become fruitless, but Jesus wants to lead us to the opposite direction toward life, strength, hope, and meaning. This is the way.